There we go. So I'll start with myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Gabe. I am the VP University Relations and chair of this committee. My pronouns are he, him, his, and my access needs are met right now. Just one small thing. This might sound weird, but I am expecting a delivery to my house and I'm the only one home. So I might just sneak off for like 5 seconds if it does decide to come, just so it's not lying on my front porch out in the open where everyone can see it. But that should take very short time if I step out. Next is VP External Relations.
Hi everyone, my name is Samad Raza. I'm the VP External Relation. My pronouns are he, him. My access needs are currently met. Thank you.
Thank you. Faculty of Science Representative.
Hi, my name is Rachel, pronouns are he, him, his. My access needs are met.
Thank you. Faculty of Health Sciences Representative.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nafoni. I'm the Faculty of Health Sci Rep. My pronouns are she, her, hers. As of now, my access needs are met, but I may have to sneak off here and there as I'm at work right now.
Okay, thank you, Nafoni. Faculty of Education Representative.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Faculty of Environment Representative.
Hi, my name is Anuki. My pronouns are she, her, hers. For my access needs, I do currently have to keep my camera off, and then later on, I'm gonna have to leave early just for another meeting. Yeah, thank you.
Cool, thank you, Anuki. Asab has just joined us, so she can introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for coming in late. I was just hopping off of another meeting that went a little bit long, but my name is Asab. My pronouns are she and her, and all of my access needs have been met.
Thank you. And we also have society staff. Is Sarah on the call? Yes, she is. Campaign Research and Policy Coordinator.
Hi, everyone. It's Sarah. She, her, and hers, and all my access needs have been met.
Thank you. Don't know if Sylvia's on the call, but Executive Assistant.
Hi everyone, I'm Shanika. My pronouns she or hers and all my access needs are met. I would just like to state that I will be the one attending the most of the committee meetings on Sylvia's behalf. She has a very compact schedule, so you'll see me mostly.
Perfect, thank you. Administrative Assistant.
Hi, I'm Christina G, her, hers, and all my access needs are met.
Thank you. And we also have a couple of student senators on the call who I've invited to the meeting. If Abby, would you like to go first?
Sure. My name is Abby. He, him, his, and all my accessibility needs are met.
Thank you. And Alan?
My name is Alan. My pronouns are he, him, and my access needs are met.
Thank you. So that is our roll call of attendance. We'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. So be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there a mover for that motion?
I move.
Samad moves. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Anuki seconds.
Anuki seconds. Perfect. Are there any discussion, any amendments to the agenda that need to take place? All right, I would like to add one, a discussion item titled COVID-19 Discussions and Issues. Cool. Can somebody move that amendment? Is someone able to second that amendment?
I'll second. Wei-Chun.
Wei-Chun seconds the amendment. Any discussion on those amendments? All right, seeing none. And if you're in opposition of the amendment, just unmute your mic. If not, we will move back to the main motion to adopt the agenda as amended. All those in favor seeking unanimous consent, and if you dissent, just please unmute your microphone. All right, so seeing no opposition, that motion carries. We'll move on to That motion carried unanimously, pardon me. Move on to agenda item number 5, matters arriving from the minutes. So be it resolved to receive and file the following meeting minutes from UAA, that is April 6th, 2020. Is there a mover for that motion?
Samad?
Emily moves.
All right, Samad moves. Is there a seconder?
Emily seconds.
Emily seconds. Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, seeking unanimous consent on the motion. All those in favor? All right, seeing no opposition, that motion carries unanimously. All right, so we'll move into our discussion items. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the first UAA committee meeting. I'm very excited to be starting and to be chairing this committee this year. The first discussion item I have on the list is including student senators as members of the UAA committee. And as per the terms of reference of this committee, student senators, undergraduate student senators are non-voting ex officio members. By right of the position they hold as student senators, they are non-voting members of this committee. And that means that they have speaking privileges and can participate in committee affairs. And I believe they're included in the mailing list as well, I think. So they should receive updates from the UAA, including agendas and anything that's sent to the mailing list. And my predecessor, so the previous VP University Relations, tried really hard to include senators and Board of Governor representatives to come to UAA because, well, that relationship is very important. And, you know, most of the time there isn't a lot of incentive, I suppose, for senators to come. But this year, I really want to try hard and include senators in the UAA committee because this relationship between the SFSS and Senate is very important. And there's a great potential for collaboration and of sharing information. And not just at the committee level here, but also in working groups and other initiatives that we take on this year. And this, sorry, Siri was showing up on my computer. I don't know why. What is happening? There we go. And this relationship's important, and I think especially amidst COVID-19, because academic advocacy is going to take up a lot of our time, both at the SFSS and on the Senate. I would think, and these are probably shared goals that we hold. And myself, Samad, Nafoni, and Asab, we all are also on the Senate in conjunction with our positions on the SFSS. So I'm hoping that these factors, you know, will allow for a strong relationship between these two bodies. I've invited all the senators-elect that will be starting their terms on June 1st to this meeting, you know, to get a feel of how UAA runs and how they can participate. This first meeting will probably just be a lot of just trying to get the logistics sorted out before we actually start diving into planning initiatives and advocacy and things like that. And so, as I said before, even though senators are considered non-voting members, which means if we have motions to vote on, then you're technically not a voting member to vote. You still have speaking privileges and can participate in discussion as much as you want, just as other committee members do as well. And that's really important, I think. And I'm hoping that senators here today are thinking of attending UAA meetings, and hopefully, you know, that those that aren't we can continue communicating with them and encouraging them to come. And we can have discussions around updates around what's happening at Senate, as well as Senate committees such as SCOOS or Scuttle or Scoop, or whichever senators we have access to that sit on any of those committees. We also, I think that Alan and Abby are already in our board Discord. If that's right, are you guys in there?
Yep.
Perfect.
Nope.
No, you're not. Okay, Alan, I can talk to you after the meeting and get you in there. We have a Discord server for our board of directors, and as part of that server, we have a channel for the University and Academic Affairs Committee, of which we would like to get senators integrated in there so they can be a part of that discussion. So I'll work with you on that, Alan, afterwards. So I guess just as a summarizing that discussion, I'd like to open the floor to any questions that senators here might have or other members of the committee regarding anything that I just discussed.
I got a little bit more of a comment, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
I know last year I was a senator as well, so I came to a couple of these meetings and I ended up helping out with like the gondola and stuff, just because like Colin's my boy and like always like gotta support my boy. But I think me and Colin, I don't know if everyone else was just in at large. I think me and Colin were probably the only two senators who really attended the stuff too well. Just because I know for me it was always clashes, and the UAA just was not my priority over like classes and over other meetings. So I guess I could ask you, do you have any ideas on how to incentivize senators to come to the meeting?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I suppose that's a conversation that definitely needs to continue going and maybe have that discussion in conjunction with senators. I would just like to think that a lot of our goals and, things that we ran on in either of our respective elections are very similar in goals, and that if we can work together, then we can definitely streamline some of the work that we're both trying to accomplish. So yeah, I think that's a conversation that definitely should continue. Thank you for the comment. Alan, how are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling like this is a very useful opportunity for both of us to have sort of a connection, because I feel like probably in the past, it's just like two separate entities instead of one kind of group trying to work towards the same thing. So there might be like some conflict, I'd assume. But hopefully this year we can get everything streamlined together and would be able to work towards many more goals in a more efficient manner.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Asab?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak in agreement, and I think that hopefully we can use the UAA committee as a channel to align ourselves on what we want to ask of the Senate. I think, student senators unfortunately don't make up a big portion of the total number of people sitting on Senate, but if we come together and we do have very strong and very similar asks of the university, I think that unity will go a long way. So hopefully this will be a good avenue that we can continue and encourage people to communicate through.
Thank you, Asab. Shanika?
Hi, from my understanding, I just want to know, what does Alan mean by incentives?
I believe that was Abby that was asking the question, but yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Abby, do you want to speak to that?
I guess you kind of covered it, right? Just giving people a reason to be invested in it. By incentives, I mean like when I go to SCOOS or SCUP, right? I know I'm making a difference and I'm making sure that programs are changed. Like for SCOOS, I was part of the vote that ended up implementing the pass-fail system, right? That was a huge change, and me and Jen absolutely hammered the deans to make sure they knew it was 100% necessary. We spent like 5, 6, 7 emails back and forth, right? And all that work paid off, right? But with like the UAA, I haven't seen like quite the same impact. So if we can see and show how we're going to make a bigger impact, it'll just force people to come. So, because people want to be part of change, right? But if the people think that their time isn't as invested well here, they're just not going to show up. It's as simple as that, right?
Okay. So you just want to know the end results of each project?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you. Does anyone else have any last comments? Amazing. That sounds great. Thank you, everyone. So we'll move on to the next discussion item, which is 6.2, at-large application criteria for the UAA committee. And of course, as per the terms of reference for this committee, we have 6 seats allocated to students at large from the student body to sit on this committee. And these individuals serve as voting members and volunteers of a type for the committee. And of course, this is done in conjunction with the nominating committee, the SFSS nominating committee, and with the input of each committee chair. So that would be myself. And each committee needs to establish their own application criteria, I believe fairly soon, because applications are open quite soon. Yeah. So my question is, I sent it out this morning, and I apologize for sending it out late. But did everyone kind of have a chance to look at the current application questions on the SFSS website? Let me see if I can pull them up.
So you sent it out this morning?
Yeah, I sent out an email this morning.
I don't know if I got the email.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let me just pull up the application questions. Anyway, what I wanted to discuss was, I believe that in the last year, the application process for recruiting at-large members changed quite a bit. It changed from kind of like an interview kind of structure to where committee chairs had more of a hands-on say in how those members are chosen. And I believe last year, my predecessor worked on developing an application where it was more questions based, where you had to describe why you wanted to be on the committee in regard to specific questions instead of in an interview setting. And some of those questions included, like, firstly, give a statement of interest. Secondly, what is your willingness to talk to the student population? Are you passionate about alleviating student issues and concerns? What is your previous experience being an active volunteer? Describe your background on leading or being involved in campaigns. And are you open to working in a challenging environment, i.e. students not willing to talk or university pushing back on initiatives? And how do you handle things that don't go your way? So part of this discussion is just trying to figure out what the criteria that we want to be in the application for this year. And in my view, I actually really like the questions the way they are now. Personally, I wouldn't change a thing, but I would just like to, open the discussion up to see if other members of the committee have any suggestions for changes or deletions or additions to the application. Poom?
Hello. So I was on the committee last year, and I believe we did have like some suggestions to change the application format. One of which was, I believe, describe your background on leading or being involved in campaigns. A lot of people don't have experience being involved in campaigns. Kind of a hard thing to get. So I don't know if we should continue including that. And also word limit. Like, we have a couple of people last year who just like wrote like 20-page essays, which is good. Like, they're in. If you write that much, you're in. But it was kind of a bit long. Like, we didn't even read it. We just, okay, yeah, sure.
That makes sense. Yeah, a word limit is definitely good. Yeah, and sorry, I'm just trying to pull up the questions again. There we go. Anuki, I think there should be a word limit. Yeah, thank you. So that is a good point, and I think that we should be looking for experience, but not necessarily relying solely on experience, because I think that the SFSS is a place where people can gain that experience. And I am a strong believer that experience doesn't necessarily equal skills, and that it's more, I look more at the person and their work habits and their determination and their passion, you know, as opposed to their experience. Even myself, like, you know, I ran for the board in my first year. And of course, I might not have had the same experience as some of the other candidates, but I think really what I feel got me through is people knew my work habits and people knew that I worked hard when I put my mind to it. And even though I didn't have that same experience, that they knew I could prevail when I was put in, you know, challenging situations. Yeah, so Sarah, we can put something beside it that says word limit, but in actuality, if someone goes over the word limit, we can't regulate that with the software.
For sure. What we usually do is we just don't read the rest of the part that's over the word limit. But that, yeah, unfortunately is one of the limitations of the software.
Cool, that's good to know. It makes sense. Poom, would you like to go ahead?
That's a good point. So maybe in one of the questions, we could alter it to like, what campaigns are you looking forward to be a part of? Or like, what initiative do you want to bring to the UAA?
Yeah, that's good. I like that because it kind of takes the focus away from experience, but you can still tie in experience there. Abby likes the idea as well. Amazing. Does anyone else want to add anything? Or I know and Emily, not to single you out or anything, but I know you were on the committee last year too. If there was anything you remember from that process that maybe you spoke about but didn't add, or you know, things you talked about and left out intentionally, if you can remember. If not, that's fine.
I think no, I can't remember anything else that Foom didn't already speak of. So yeah.
Cool. That's okay. Thank you. So I'll take note of that, and once I start communicating with the nominating committee, we'll make sure those are included. Cool. So is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll move on to 6.3, working group on student engagement and emergency response. Samad, would you like to go? You brought this forward.
Yes, thank you, Gabe. So the reason I brought this forward is because our summer semester is completely online. We are in a state of emergency right now, and our fall semester is mostly online too. So it's heavily, we have to start thinking how we're going to improve our engagement, student engagement, and how we're going to provide emergency supports to students. So I know that like executive committee directly takes care of any emergency that comes its way, but like I think we need a working group or a subcommittee that can actually start working and start analyzing data and thinking about how we can actually start improving our fall semester already. So that's why I propose that we start a working group or subcommittee, and just few people from this committee and students outside of the committee who would like to work with us, bring the problems forward to the committee, whatever students are facing. So basically my idea was to help a student directly, ask them question, interact with them, and when we are faced with any kind of problem, we solve it not just by like ourselves, but like empower our student to help them solve the problem. So that's why how we can, even though we are in the emergency state, we can start empowering our student.
Thank you, Samad. See, my computer keeps thinking I'm saying "Hey Siri." That's weird. Anyway. Okay, thank you, Wasib. Does anyone have any questions for Samad? I guess I suppose I have one question. I'm just trying to think maybe not specifically what this committee I guess I'll ask, what specifically do you want this working group to look at? And I'm just trying to think if it's worth actually establishing another working group, or if these are things that could just be brought to UAA or the executive committee. Yeah, if you want to take a yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So the first thing that's I would like the committee or the subcommittee, if it develops, to look into is like how we can better respond to what the students are going through right now. I know there are already a lot of things SFSS is doing and UAA will be doing, but we need some kind of subcommittee that can start analyzing stuff for us. So it's like a preparation for fall semester. UAA is currently like engaging with like how we can solve whatever is coming right now. But like if we have a working group of few people who are like, okay, trying to put a plan together for fall semester, how we can respond, that's how so our UAA committee will be on a benefit side, because then we will have a data to work with. We will be going to know like, hey, yeah, this is the plan they propose, how we can go through about it, and how we can use it to help students in fall semester as well, because we know fall semester is mostly online too.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah. So I think I understand. Just a working group that is talking about the issues and engaging with students and taking that information and trying to recommend comprehensive plans for how we can go forward in the fall, or maybe even later than that. We really don't know. Wei Chen?
Yeah, I think I understand what someone is trying to get at, and what he's trying to do with the committee. It's basically, I think, getting feedback from students now who are enrolled in online summer courses and see what their concerns and issues are and what they think will be better implemented in the fall. I think because a lot of the things we're doing right now is very kind of a little bit reactive, and it's like not our fault too, because this is like completely new to us. So yeah, that's what somebody's getting at. I think it would be really good to maybe have that committee to like actively and be the role to gather that data and talk with students, consult with students. One example I could think of is there was the lab survey that I did for courses, about courses with labs, and labs being online in the summer, and what students think should happen with those courses, whether they think fees should be cheaper, whether they should not be paying lab fees, or how they think. I'm happy to like receive responses from their professors before the semester started, so that they know and like whether to enroll or whether they think it fits their study style and all that. So like, I think it would be good to have that committee to collect that data and analyze it, and then we can be better prepared on like giving recommendations to SFU and saying, hey, this is like what students are saying, this is how they feel, and this is what they think, and give just recommended actions on how to better implement the fall semester now that we know it's online, and that some labs are going to be in person. Not sure how that's going to look like yet. We need more lab sessions and more staggered, and so yeah, I agree with someone.
Cool. So yeah, it does seem like there's some appetite to make this working group, and I suppose Samad wants to be the working group lead on this. Is there interest on actually being a part of this working group from members of the committee? And just express your interest now. Poom?
I agree with Samad that this should exist, but the question to Samad is, does this warrant creating a new committee? Can we just do it at UAA? Like, does there need to be a distinct committee to do it?
Well, first, oh, sorry, go ahead, Samad.
Thank you. So I think Poom is talking about creating a new committee, I believe. But what I'm proposing is something under UAA. It's not apart from UAA. It's basically UAA's subcommittee. The subcommittee will report to UAA on its discoveries and all the exploration. and whatever they're going to work on, all the recommendation will come back to committee, and then committee itself, everyone will decide if it's worth it to bring it to the board or not. So it's a working group or subcommittee. I'm hoping to lead it, but like, yeah, I'm hoping like members from this committee and students themselves at large, when they get in, and some student senator will be hoping to hop onto this as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if I can just quickly mention something, just because I think there's a bit of confusion about the terms. This would be a working group. There is actually no process to create subcommittees of a board committee. The difference between the two is a committee is more like is a formal meeting where, you know, we practice Robert's rules and we have an agenda set, whereas a working group is just, it's more informal, where you just get together with the members of the working group and work, quite literally, discuss, brainstorm. It's slightly different from a committee, but that's I just wanted to clarify that point. Abby, you had a question?
Yeah, how often would the working group be meeting if it were hypothetically to begin?
Samad?
So currently, UA committee is meeting bi-weekly. So either it's going to be bi-weekly or once a month. It depends on the goal we are going to set. If the group has to come in, and if the committee decides to start this working group, then first order of business would be to create an agenda, feasible goal for both the summer term and fall term. And after that, we're going to decide how often we have to meet to accomplish this goal.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm just looking at the list. Working group sounds better. Perfect. So we'll ask again, is there any interest in actually being a member of this working group from the members of this committee? I'll most likely be a part of this in some capacity.
Yeah, sure. I'll put my name down for it.
And Poom? Abby, perfect. Sounds good. So that is Samad as the working group lead, myself, Wei Chen, Poom, and Abby. Sounds good. All right. Is there an Asa will be available for support? Sounds great. Is there any other discussion on this working group? Perfect. And I would assume that Samad would start thinking of the first steps for the working group and decide first steps from there, and be in contact with us shortly. Awesome. So we'll move on to the next agenda item, and I actually realized that 6.4 is a duplicate of, or essentially duplicate of 6.2. So there shouldn't be any discussion for this. So we'll actually go right over 6.4, going on to 6.5. And I wanted to have an opportunity to talk about updates on projects that began last board year and are continuing into this year, and where they are at, and where we can pick up from those groups. So I believe some of those things include well, I mean, I would like to ask the members of the committee who were members of the committee last year, which include Asib and Emily and Poom. I think, Emily, you wanted to talk about the OER working group.
Oh yeah. Can I start now, or?
Of course, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so last year we did quite a few projects surrounding OER, and I know that Asib, Shana, and I participated in the OER working group, which Gabe, I think you're a part of now too, but they haven't scheduled the meeting yet. I did have a meeting earlier this month with the OER Grants Committee, which is essentially just the committee that takes in grants up to $5,000 from faculty and instructors that want to adopt their own resources for their classes. So they are suspending intake of grant applications because the pool of money is kind of depleted at the moment, and they're not getting any extra funding from VP Academic. So they are looking for different avenues for funding from like BC Campus and etc. So last year, Shaina and I we worked on the OER student campaign video where we interviewed some students, asking them questions about how much money they spent on textbooks for the semester, how much was the most expensive textbook they bought, and then we created a video where we would integrate statistics from the SFU bookstore. So if you looked at the farm letter that I attached to the email, there's a lot of those statistics that we actually put in the video, and then we interviewed OER working group committee members just to get some more information about what OER is and how it benefits students and how it benefits students with like textbook affordability and such. So that video has been kind of completed. The only issue is that the student testimonials that we filmed aren't exactly usable anymore because the audio is really whack. Like, it's not usable at all. Like, I tried fixing it, and OER working group committee members tried looking at it too, and it's just not feasible. So we might have to refilm those testimonials or find some other way. So maybe like some of UAA members might want to talk about their experiences with textbooks and affordability and such. And then the OER farm letter that Asib, an at-large member last year, Rehan, and I drafted up. So we intended to use that last semester to advocate for more adaptation and adoption of OER resources from faculty, but that didn't end up happening because of COVID. And then I think we decided that we would suspend that until next semester. And since next semester will be online, I think it's a great opportunity to push faculty to adopt and adapt more resources since they are online and freely available for students. It's just a matter of fact of how we're going to
Emily, your audio froze. Maybe her internet is acting up. All right, well, thank you, Emily, for the update. We'll see if she comes back.
Oh yeah, I cut
there we
out.
go.
I don't remember which part I stopped at.
I think you stopped at like around like farm and when you were getting to farm.
Oh, okay. So the OER farm letter, also Rehan and I drafted. I'm sure that most of you have seen it. We were going to send it to faculty last semester, but that didn't end up happening because of COVID, and we realized that a lot of instructors were already stressed with the transition to remote working. So we suspended it until next semester, and since the fall semester will be online as well, the majority of classes will be online. It's a great opportunity to push faculty to adopt more freely available website resources for students. But yeah, it's just a matter of how we're going to do it. If we're gonna continue with the draft letter that we organized, and if we're also gonna advocate for more funding for grants for the committee, the OER committee. But yeah, any thoughts?
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. Is there any thoughts or questions from comments from the committee members? Wei-Chen?
No, yeah, thank you, Emily, and also for doing all the OER work for the past year. I think right now it's more important than ever that we push for affordable access to education resources because, you know, I heard from a lot of people and some of my friends who are in summer courses right now that they don't have, you know, readily accessible to education resources. Like a lot of the textbooks are, like, you can access them online, but like only a number of students can access them at a time, or like you only can download a limited number of pages, or like my friend had to like come to me and say like, hey, can you download like this chapter of the book for me, because I only can download like a limited number of pages on my account. And then I also heard that some students, they order the books online, and then sometimes it takes a while for the books to come, and it arrives in like June or whatever, but they already, by that time you already have assignments and reading assigned to you. So I think right now, like, with the pandemic and people having financial problems, that we should be like pushing the faculties to use more open resource educational resources. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I was thinking that we should edit the draft letter that we had created to incorporate more relevant information about COVID and about students who are struggling. Another thing is also, I lost my train of thought. Hold on.
That's okay.
A lot of profs I've heard have been using OER in their courses this semester, but they haven't been reporting it or like encouraging other faculty to do it. And I think it would be really good if we also incorporated it into the campaign for faculty to share their experiences adopting or adapting OER, so to motivate other faculty members to do it as well.
I agree. Yeah, that's good. I can't tell if Emily was finished or she cut out again.
Oh, sorry, I just forgot to turn my mic off.
It's okay. No, it's fine.
But another thing that we did talk about last year in UAA and in the OER working group is how we can survey the students that used OER in their classes and like compare that to, traditional textbooks, because OER is adapted to the specific course that they're taking, so it should be more relevant because the prof is creating it specifically for that course. So yeah, I'm done now.
Thank you. Thank you for all that information. I'm really awesome. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, I think just in terms of what we were planning to do to survey those students and get info from them, one of our plans was to do tabling, but obviously that's not going to work. So I think maybe we're going to need to think of some digital ways to figure out what students know about OER, like digital pledge card type things. And then even surveying, I think instructors would be helpful, especially if a lot of them have been adopting OERs but haven't been reporting it. So even like having a way where we can get faculty reps to send out emails to different instructors and their faculties who have been reported to use OERs and see if they're interested in like signing a pledge card might be a cool way to get some names and build some capacity for like campaigns later on.
Sounds great. Sarah, you're also on the list. Would you like to go ahead?
Sure. I just wanted to talk briefly about the Advocacy Initiative's annual report. So that's something that it's one report that's jointly done by the UAAC and now it's the ECAC. And that's something that I compile for the committees. So basically that allows the committee to map out somewhat of a year plan, which I know will be a little bit tricky this year because we don't really know when we're going to be able to go back in person. But that also gives the committee the opportunity to look into some different digital methods. But what I'd like you all to do is, looking at that report that China prepared, you've talked a lot about the OER and engaging senators, but there were a couple other priorities in that report. So there were completed topics, which are good. Those are all done. There was continuing. So if the committee can kind of decide which of those topics you'd like to continue into this board year. And then there was also potential topics, which were new suggestions that hadn't been undertaken. So feel free to look at those as well and look at if those are something that you all are interested in. And then if there's anything else that falls outside of that maybe you haven't talked about, definitely the COVID engagement is something that comes to mind to adding that probably wasn't on the committee's mind when they wrote the report. If you could just send me a list of those priorities and then just high-level activities that you want to undertake, doesn't need to be specific, but I can write a report summarizing the details of all of that. It'll get submitted back to the committee for approval, and then it just gets sent to the board, so the board roughly knows what the committee's planning for the year to do with that budget.
Sure. And sorry, just for clarification, that's report is just UAA, or is that in conjunction with the External and Community Affairs Committee?
It's both. Both of your parts are completely separate in the report, but it's the same budget, so it all goes forward in one report. Yeah.
Okay, sounds great. Wait, sorry, is that Wei Chen on the list? Yes, Wei Chen, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah. So which report are you referring to? Like, was this sent to us, Sarah?
So the report I'm talking about was, I believe, sent out by China, and then Gabe, I think you circulated as well. The full name was something like UAAC yearly 2019-2020 accomplishments or something like that. But if you don't have it, I can recirculate that as well.
Yeah. Gabe, do you have it?
I have a digital copy of it as well. I have it in front of me here. I don't think I actually sent it out yet, but if we can get that recirculated, that
Sure.
would be
I can
great.
send that one as well as the report from last year that the UAAC used to plan some of the events for the year.
Awesome. That's
Okay.
great. Thank you. And
Yeah.
I am just, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Wei Chen.
Oh yeah. I was just like want to add on to what also Emily said. About I think it's a really good idea to include those profs that has used OER in their courses. But like, is there a way that we could find out? Because I don't think, like, is there a way to find out that which prof in the past has been using OER in their courses? Like, do we send out a survey to students asking like if they did a course that has OER, or like, I think that would be really useful to collect and get that information on like how many courses in SFU has been using OER and like how it's like been compared to like traditional courses.
Emily?
Yeah, so the OER working group does have some data on how many projects have been completed. So around 30 have been completed since the establishment in 2016. But because profs don't actively report, they don't have accurate numbers. The SFU bookstore also has some numbers, but again, profs don't actively report OER use, so.
Awesome. So I also have the report in front of me too, and I'm just looking under ongoing initiatives, as Sarah was just mentioning, and those include initiatives such as the creation of the Student Advocacy Office. And I'm sure Asif can speak a little bit to that too, but last year, last board term, the board approved a motion to hire a student advocate, which would, it's kind of similar to the ombudsperson, except that, you know, where the ombudsperson just provides recommendation and informational resources and how students are able to represent themselves and advocate for themselves when they're in conflict with the university. Whereas a student advocate kind of takes it, where the ombudsperson is more independent and has to show impartiality to all students, whereas a student advocate can help students can advocate on their behalf and show a little less impartiality. I don't know, Asif, would you like to speak to that a little bit if you can?
Yeah, I think you covered the main topics. It's a position that does already exist at a lot of other post-secondary institutions, and we have worked closely with the SFU ombudsperson over the last few months, and she's been an amazing resource to us. But the only issue there is that her capability when it comes to advocating on behalf of the student is quite limited. She's also funded by SFU. I know partially funded by us in the past, I believe. I don't know if we still pay into that. I'm not sure if somebody wants to correct me on that. But essentially, we are looking to hire a long-term student advocate. We're working currently on the job description, so I was able, with Gabe's help, to kind of look through different student societies and what kind of qualities, requirements, and stuff they would look for in a student advocate. And we do have a draft. So if anybody is interested in seeing that, please reach out to me and we can talk about what you think as well would be important for a student advocate to have. But yeah, I'm really, really, really excited to see this kick off. I think it's going to be a huge asset to students, especially now that we faced a really huge uptick in the number of issues coming from students in terms of like exam invigilation, grade appeals, like unfair instructor requests, and yeah, it's been a rough time for students. So hopefully the student advocate can alleviate some of those problems.
Awesome. Thank you, Asab. Is there any questions around the student advocate? I don't know if you just mentioned this already, Asab, and sorry if I'm repeating, but I believe since we have the job description drafted up soon enough, we'll start forming a hiring committee for that once that we get the ball rolling on that.
Yeah, you're right.
Awesome. Some of the other initiatives in this report include the Burnaby Mountain Gondola Project Working Group. Abby, were you part of that working group?
Not sure. I know I helped out with tabling and stuff, and we talked about it in a couple meetings, but I don't remember specifically being in the working group.
Okay, that's okay. I was just curious. I know personally, I'm not quite sure where the status of the gondola project is, especially I think it's most likely been delayed because of COVID-19, or TransLink might try and delay it because of COVID-19. Does anybody on the call actually have an update? Poom?
This is a very informal update. This comes from Colin himself. Like, he just told me, like, on the bus. Apparently, we're good. Like, TransLink bought onto the idea, and they said they would do the project, like handle the entire project themselves. And Colin has taken like a hands-off approach to it now, where he wants to like move away from like the city altogether. So I assume that since he is willing to move away, that the gondola is fine. But I have no evidence of it because it was a conversation on the bus.
Okay.
I can give a little bit of an update. TransLink can't really say the status of a lot of their projects right now, but the good news is they haven't formally put off any existing projects, which, although this project is still in the consultation phase and hasn't been committed to, it has received political support. And then fairly recently, TransLink also was approved to get funding from the provincial government. So previously they were incurring some very huge losses every month, but now they're getting funding from the province. So financially, they're looking to be a little bit better off. So while I don't think this project is a priority of theirs, I don't think it's being completely taken off the table by any means. And at some point, I think consultation will start. It's just difficult to say when that will be for sure.
Perfect. That's good to know. I know a while ago I was on a call with what is it called, the Metro Vancouver Student Leaders Group, and we were talking about that was back in like probably end of April, beginning of May, and they were talking about how TransLink could be in grave danger if the provincial government didn't provide some funding for them. So that's good to hear that they're being financially supported by the government. Is there anyone else on the list? Poom, was that from before when you spoke, or did you want to speak again?
That was from
I think that was, okay, good. Sometimes they lose track. We already talked about open ed. We already talked about student senator inclusion. There is also the tuition budget consultation working group, and I don't know much about that. If any members of the committee are able to share some information on that.
I can share again if that's all right.
Yeah, that'd be great.
This year it was pretty last minute. Unfortunately, SFU sent us the budget, I think on a Thursday or Friday, and then wanted comments by this Sunday. So that was just a working group with Giovanni working in conjunction with the GSS president. But the year before, there was a few more members from the committee. At that time, there wasn't an active UAA committee, so that was on the lobbying committee. But ideally, if SFU gives students and the SFSS a little bit more time to look over the budget, that committee would quickly meet as soon as they get that, review the budget along with staff, because we can help them look at that. Shanika was also working with me this past year, and then submit those comments back to SFU.
Awesome. Thank you for that update. Yeah, and I think that concludes all the ongoing initiatives that were left from Shina in her outgoing UAA report, or from the previous UAA committee. Yeah, so I suppose that concludes this discussion item. If there's any more discussion, if there isn't any more discussion, I should say. Alrighty, sounds good. We'll move on to the next item, which is COVID-19 discussion and issues. And I brought this forward. I think some of it's already been talked about a bit, but we'll speak about it a little bit. And I know Wei Chen has some things to say on this too. So as of right now, a while back, the SFSS sent out a survey to our membership regarding COVID-19 and the impacts it's had on our students. And a lot of that that information was compiled. I believe Sarah you compiled all the information, put it into a report, and that report also contained all the SFSS's demands. What we're asking of the university right now, you know, in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I don't have it right now. I wish
I'm just making some last few changes, and then that'll go out again.
Awesome, that's great. I'm just looking at what the SFSS is asking SFU for. So that includes further financial relief for students, which includes suspending late enrollment penalties and other fees and fines, freezing tuition in the coming year for both domestic and international students, and extending general emergency assistance programs into the summer semester. More academic accommodations, including requiring asynchronous course delivery for courses and recognizing the challenge from working at home, providing greater academic accommodations for students with disabilities, including mental health disabilities, and extending the pass-fail grading system throughout the summer semester. Improve mental health support, including more advertising and sharing of mental health resources available to students, and improving the process for checking in with and responding to students who may be in distress. And I suppose more questions we have to ask ourselves too is, which of these demands, or if all of them, are also being asked for the fall semester as well? Because, you know, of course, with John Driver's email that went out, I forget when it went out, a week or two ago, but we need to start contemplating, we're in this for a while, and we need to start thinking about what our long-term demands are, and if that includes most or all of those things on that list. I was at the Board of Governors meeting yesterday morning, or I was attending, and there was some indication. It wasn't by any means a hard facts or a hard decision, but there was some indication from John Driver, who's the Vice President Academic and Provost, that this could also go into spring of 2021, or maybe even into summer of 2021, depending on how bad this pandemic gets, if there's a second or third wave, and that inhibits the university's ability to let students come back for in-person teaching. So again, just kind of putting that out there to think about. This survey that was put together is being brought forward to JOG, the Joint Operations Group, which consists of representatives from the SFSS. OSIB and I represent the SFSS on that group, as well as GSS representatives and administration from SFU. So that will be brought forward and discussed there as well. OSIB, would you like to speak?
Yeah, just to respond to your question about long-term goals. So in terms of the tuition fees, that ship has kind of sailed for the summer semester since most people have already paid their fees. But I think that's a conversation that we're going to need to continue to push quite hard over the course of the semester. Unfortunately, the university has not been particularly receptive to this, but I don't think that that should make us back down, because this has happened at other universities in Canada, and other universities in Canada have actually announced a tuition freeze for this year in light of the ongoing pandemic. So the way I see it is like, if they can do it, we can do it too. So as well as, the issue around invigilation software, course components and stuff like that, I think it's really great that we do have student senators in the committee as well, because a lot of these issues do pertain to Senate. And then obviously pushing for the pass-fail option will be, I think, a short and long-term issue as well until we're back at school. And in regard to, being online for the long term, I think we should really keep an eye out to make sure that this is used appropriately and that we're not, moving towards a system where online courses become the norm even outside of this pandemic situation. And what else was there? Yeah, I think those are the main things. So yeah, other than the tuition fees, I think they're all going to be summer and fall semester issues. The 2% late penalty thing is something that we're pushing quite hard as well, just because I think it's a small concession for the university to make in some ways, and then a big relief to students as well. So yeah, I think that's all. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. I forgot. I was not chairing.
That's okay. Abby, did you want to comment on the pass-fail option?
Yeah, so me and Jen have already addressed this at SCUSA multiple times, and there is 0% interest at all from any staff or any of the admin. Their attitude is very much, last semester they were forced to implement it because there were changes made in the beginning that were not in the course outline. And I know Jen's totally gone after it, and after the second time I was just telling her there's no point. They're not listening at all, because they kind of do have a point, right? You kind of know what you're getting into, and in order with the course outline, everything's already there, almost. I don't 100% agree with it, but that's their mentality, and they have a reasonable amount of backing to it, if you get what I mean. They actually do have it in their course outlines. This, and this is required, whereas last semester, no one knew that we'd be transitioning online. So they've been very, very firm. And so Jen, she brought it up at Senate, and she's brought it up at SCUS multiple times, and there's been basically no support. So I don't know how we'd do it, but I'm generally not one to beat a dead horse.
All right. Thank you for that, Abby. Weichen, would you like to speak?
Yeah, just to speak to what Abby just said. I think SFU's reason is pretty kind of, to me personally, is very stupid. To say that, yeah, you know what you're getting into, so if you enroll, it's your own fault. Because while doing my survey for the labs, one of the question was that, despite knowing that the courses that you're taking are meant to have labs, but now are not having labs because of COVID, what is your reason that you're still enrolling? And a lot of 70-something% of people said well, I'm still enrolling because it's part of my required course, or I want to be on track for graduation. So, you know, it's kind of ridiculous to say that people know what they're getting into. Yeah, people do know, but people still don't have a choice sometimes, especially for summer when there's not enough jobs now. You know, summer is usually when students go to take summer jobs, get experience outside of school, but there's none of that right now. So, like, you know, what are they gonna do with their summer, right? They don't want to waste their time, because the longer they take to graduate, the more debt they accumulate, right? The longer they take when they get into the working force. So some people are actually forced to take those courses because they have no other options. So I think we should keep pushing for that options whenever we can. And yeah, like pushing for a tuition freeze as well. I'm like fully supportive of that. I think one example is the University of Saskatchewan actually did freeze tuition after the student union asked them to freeze for the year and implement a pass-fail option, but I'm not sure if they implemented the pass-fail option. But they did freeze tuition for the year. So like all these things, it is possible. Like there's always going to be pushback. The admins are always going to be like on that kind of position, but that shouldn't deter us from pushing and saying, and especially now that we have that report and data to back it up, I think we have a really strong case, and if we just keep pushing for it.
Thank you, Wei-Chun. Sarah, would you like to go ahead?
Sure, I just wanted to share one last thing, somewhat related, but there's definitely a lot of push for SFU to make some financial accommodations, but on our end, we've received quite a few requests for refunding of SFSS membership fees. Unfortunately, we're not able to refund most of the activity fee. And that's difficult for students who might feel that they're paying for something and they're not getting a lot out of it. So I think maybe one of the important engagement activities that the committee looks at is how do we show what value we're still offering students, communicating all of the financial resources that we've created, like the new grants, both for FIC and for all students, including international students. So I think it's important to kind of have a engagement and communication strategy for sharing all that information with students so they don't feel like they're paying for a fee and not getting anything out of it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. All right. How are we feeling? Is there any more discussion? All right. Seeing none. That concludes 6.6. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is 7.1. So the next UAA meeting is going to be in 2 weeks. It'll be on Tuesday, June the 2nd, 2020 at 3 p.m. And this right now was originally supposed to be our meeting time, but that ended up committee members' availability actually ended up changing. So we had to shift things around, and in conjunction with the board went to meet. I think this was the second best time for all committee members to meet. Not one member of this committee that has spoken to me yet isn't available to meet at that time. So that will be our new bi-weekly meeting time, and our next meeting will be on June the 2nd. Any questions about that? Awesome. So with that, we'll move on to agenda item 8.1, adjournment. So be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at 1:12 p.m.
Samad moves.
Samad moves. Is there a seconder?
I'll second. Wei-Chun.
Wei-Chun seconds. All those in favor, seeking unanimous consent on the motion. Seeing no opposition, the motion carries. So the meeting is adjourned. thank you everyone for coming today and taking out the time to come and talk about these things. And hopefully it's Friday afternoon. We have a board development session at 2:30, so I'll see you all then. But otherwise, have a good weekend, and thank you, Alan and Abby, for coming. Thank you to our senators, and hopefully we see you at these meetings in the future, and look forward to working together. Bye, everyone. Are you gonna hang up?
Peace out.
Okay, bye, Elsa.